Hi everyone. We are back with another one of the simple requests that you requested. In this video, I will be talking about a book that I'm reading, and I will finish by reading a bit as well. This is the book Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray, and it is one of the Penguin Popular Classics. So, one of the ways that I am spending my time now that I'm not working is reading. I have never, well, that's not true. When I was a kid, I used to read quite a bit, but starting from when school got a bit more serious, and while I've been working, I've never been a big reader. Even though I wanted to be, it was something that I didn't make time for. If I had time, I would prefer to spend it watching TV or a movie rather than reading. So now that I'm not working, I try to make time to read. I try not to turn on the TV until after dinner. So in the afternoon, I will grab a book. This is the first book I'm reading, which is a challenge. It took me a while to get used to the writing. It took me even longer to get into the story, but now I am used to it and I am definitely invested in the story. This is my fancy little bookmark. My sister got it for me, and it's gorgeous. It is a silver metal bookmark, and it has two charms on it. Here is a little treasure chest here that can open like that. No treasures in here right now. And this beautiful oval-shaped silver piece with a red gem in it, reddish, not a bright red, more of a maroon towards pink. Anyway, because I don't want it to be dangling and knocking about during the whole video, I am going to replace it with this card. So this is the bookmark. Okay, so the book. I am currently on page 254 out of 600. 672, so I'm not halfway there yet, as you can see. I'm a little over a third of the way. We have a list of all the Penguin popular classics in the back here, of which I have read probably only one other book. Yeah, I think so. Let's see if it's even. Yep. I read Dracula. I have read some Shakespeare though, so if I read anything else, I don't think so. I have a couple of these that are still going to be read. Although my next book after this is going to be a bit more easy reading. My next book is laying right over there, but I don't want to get it right now because then I have to get up and. But it's Simon Amstel's book, Help. Okay. So let's read the summary, then I'll talk about it, and then I'll read a bit. Okay. Vanity Fair, complete and unabridged. A richly comic dissection of English society during the Napoleonic Wars. Becky Sharp and Amelia Sedley together leave the shelter of Miss Pinkerton's Academy for Young Ladies. They now inhabit the infinitely more fascinating and dangerous Vanity Fair, where the only standard is worldly success. Becky, charming and amoral, is well fitted for the fight. When an ill-judged bowl of punch ruins her plans for marriage, her quick wits soon find a range of alternatives. But sweet and sentimental Amelia only longs for her worthless soldier lover. There are battles, military and domestic, fortunes made and lost, elopements and betrayals. The corrupt, the grotesque, and the downright wicked all struggle to make their way amongst the tawdry glamour of the Regency. And through the narrative strolls the relaxed figure of the author, pointing out a moral here and there as he shines a light into society's murkier corners. Okay, so that is a very, very brief summary of a very long story. The summary basically only describes the first few chapters, and not much more. So, as it said, it features two young women, Amelia Sedley and Rebecca Sharp. Amelia Sedley is a very kind, naive, innocent little thing who is loved by everyone. She is the daughter of a stockbroker, Mr. Sedley, and she has a brother, Joseph Sedley, or Joss, and he is the collector of Bagliwala in India. And so we have her on the other hand, and she's kind of the angel. And then we have the devil, sort of, in Rebecca Sharp. Rebecca Sharp is nothing like Amelia. She is a cunning, conniving, evil little thing. So I guess all they have in common is that they're both little things. She is the daughter of an artist. Her father was an artist, a painter, I think, who taught art and music, I believe, at Miss Pinkerton's Academy for young ladies. But he is dead now in the story. And her mother was an opera girl, which is apparently something very bad. It's not good. So she was a dancer, a harlot, but she was she has a noble background in Montmorency. She's always saying, I'm a Montmorency, French, Montmorency. But so she's an orphan, she's poor, and at Miss Pinkerton's she taught French. Anyway, the story starts off with them leaving the academy. Everybody's in tears over Amelia leaving. Everybody loves her. She is so amazing, and nobody cares that Rebecca is leaving. And Miss Pinkerton herself really dislikes Rebecca. And they set off to Amelia Sedley's home, and Rebecca joins her for a week before she has to go and be a governess to a family in Hampshire. So in this week, Rebecca tries to worm her way into Amelia's family, namely through the brother, Joss. And I'm going to interrupt myself. So, interestingly, there's a mini-series, Vanity Fair, that came out last year, and my sister, she taped it. So today, actually, I went over to my sister's and we saw the first 4 episodes of the miniseries. So now I have these people in my head when I'm talking about the book, which is kind of annoying because I pictured them differently. But at the same time, I don't have the greatest imagination, so it is nice to now be able to see it more in my head, because this is set in like 1815 or something, so it's a long time ago. I don't have a clear picture of that era in my head. So, Rebecca tries to get Joss to propose marriage to her, and she very nearly succeeds, if not for the ill-judged bowl of punch that's mentioned in the summary. So she ends up not marrying Joss and having to go to Hampshire to Sir Pitt Crawley's house at Queen's Crawley to be a governess. Now there, she also just worms her way into the right people's lives. She does a well enough job with the children. They like her. There's 2 girls. But especially the man of the house, baronet, they say. Don't know what that is. Sir Pitt Crawley, he really comes to rely on her for her secretarial work for him. And she makes herself important and what's the word? Well, she cannot be missed by Sir Pitt Crawley's very rich sister, Matilda Crawley. So she becomes ill and Rebecca goes with her to take care of her. And then this is the moment I knew I was into the story, because I had a real moment where I was super shocked and couldn't wait to read what it meant and what happened. So, spoiler alert, obviously. Sir Pitt Crawley's second wife, she dies, and he goes to his sister's house, and he proposes marriage to Rebecca. Yes, even though she's a poor orphan girl with not a good background, even though she herself thinks she does have sort of a good background because she's Montmorency on her mother's side. He proposes to her, and shockingly, her reply, is, "I'm already married." Crazy, crazy. crazy because, like, it's funny when things surprise you in a book, because in TV and series you're so used to like plot twists, but in a book everything is described. You're behind the scenes of everything, so to be so surprised at something that hasn't been mentioned at all or hinted towards even, because like I said, I saw the miniseries today, and when that moment came where she replied, "But I'm married already," when you're watching the miniseries, you already have a really good idea of who she's going to be married to, of who it is, because of some stolen looks and some subtle moments and some hints and etc., etc. So in the book, you have no idea. At least I had no idea. Maybe that's me. I was still struggling with the reading. Anyway, she ends up being married already to, she eloped with Sir Pitt Crawley's youngest son, Rawdon Crawley. So she is married to him. Now, both Sir Pitt Crawley and his sister, Miss Crawley, old Miss Crawley, flip out when they find out who she's married to, and they completely cut off all communications and, more importantly, all of the money flow to Rawdon Crawley. So they are living a life on credit, basically, just amassing great amounts of debt. And, well, so there's that. Meanwhile, Amelia, things are not going as well for Amelia either. So she, from birth, sort of, almost nearly years in any case, has been part of what will be an arranged marriage, sort of, with George Osborne, who is in the army, captain in the army. Is George a captain? Crawley's a captain. Dobbin's a captain. George is probably a captain too. I don't know. He's in the army. And they are going to marry. But some things happened and Amelia Sedley's father, the stockbroker, goes bankrupt. So they are now completely poor. They have to sell everything, and George's father is completely cuts off the Sedleys and doesn't want anything to do with them. And Amelia's father herself doesn't want anything to do with the Osbornes anymore, tells her to call off the engagement. Yeah, badness. So now we've got this kind fella by the name of Dobbin. Is he, what's Dobbin? William Dobbin. William Dobbin. So he, who is clearly obsessed with Amelia, wants to do everything to make her happy. So even though he is completely in love with her himself, because he cannot bear to see her so sad over losing George, he basically gets them to marry anyway. He gives George a little nudge in the right direction, completely out of character. George accepts the nudge, it's out of character because George is not a good guy. He's just not. It's subtle, but he's not. So I really didn't think that he would still marry Amelia, seeing the circumstances. They do. So another elopement where the parents are not involved, and when they find out afterwards are completely out of their minds because of it. And George Osborne is stricken out of his father's will. He gets a £2,000 settlement from his mother's inheritance, and that's it. So we've got these two poor couples now, and they're together. They're in Brighton for a reason that having to do with Miss Crawley, the old rich one. And they find out that they have to ship out to war. So they have to go to Belgium, incidentally, to fight in the war against the French, against Napoleon. And they take their wives. Now, at first I was like, huh? What? Why? How does that work? You take them to war with you? But I was forgetting the timeline for a second there. War back then was obviously a very different thing than war now. So you've got the battlefields, which are the battlefields, and you're going to get hurt on the battlefield. But that's kind of where the war is contained. There's no there's no airplanes or bomb attacks and things like that. So I guess you could bring your wives to war back then. So that's where I am reading wise. That's was the last chapter where they started their travels. Now I watched an episode beyond where I was with the reading, so I do know a bit more of how the story is going to continue, and I'm really, really, really looking forward to it now because it's gonna get juicy now. It's not been that juicy up to this point. The corrupt, the grotesque, and the downright wicked all struggle to make their way amongst the tawdry glamour of the Regency. It's not been that corrupt and wicked and tawdry at all so far. No. Or maybe at the time it was, but actually no, I really don't think so. But what's coming, oh boy, it's corrupt and it's tawdry. So Rebecca is really going to prove why she is the evil, devilish one. And poor Amelia is going to suffer because of it. So I look forward to that. So it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle to get through this, but not so much lately. And now that I saw the miniseries, I also feel kind of confirmed that I am really understanding everything and getting the whole storyline, getting the whole picture, because there's things that they did differently in the miniseries that I got up on, people that they changed, and things like that, and I knew, so I'm doing a good job, if I may say so myself. The reason that this is special is because I'm a diagonal reader normally. I will skim. It's just something I picked up while studying. There were just huge amounts of books, texts to read, to learn, to study, to get everything done. You really needed to kind of skim and not read every single word on the page. So that's what I normally do. That's not possible with this, like at all. If I were to do that, I would know nothing. So that means I do frequently have to kind of go back, read something again, because I started skimming and then I just noticed, oh, I have no idea what I just read. So go back, read it again. It's a thing. So anyway, that was kind of the story up till now that I just told you. And now I'm going to do a little reading. And I really do mean a little reading. Please bear in mind that English is not my first language. And even if English was my first language, not this English. Okay, so we all know from my CD video that I'm really good at Roman numerals. So this is chapter 28, in which Amelia invades the Low Countries, the lande. So, here we go. The regiment, with its officers, was to be transported in ships provided by His Majesty's government for the occasion. And in 2 days after the festive assembly at Mrs. O'Dowd's apartments, in the midst of cheering from all the East India ships in the river and the military on shore, the band playing God Save the King, the officers waving their hats, and the crews hurrahing gallantly, the transports went down the river and proceeded under convoy to Ostend. Meanwhile, the gallant Joss had agreed to escort his sister and the mayor's wife, the major's wife, not the mayor's wife, that's a different thing, the major's wife. So, meanwhile, the gallant Joss had agreed to escort his sister and the major's wife, the bulk of whose goods and chattels, including the famous birds of paradise and turban, were with the regimental baggage, so that our two heroines drove pretty much unencumbered to Ramsgate, where there were plenty of packets plying, in one of which they had a speedy passage to Ostend. That period of Joss's life which now ensued was so full of incident that it served him for conversation for many years after, and even the tiger hunt story was put aside for more stirring narratives which he had to tell about the great campaign of Waterloo. As soon as he had agreed to escort his sister abroad, it was remarked that he ceased shaving his upper lip. At Chatham he followed the parades and drills with great assiduity. He listened with the utmost attention to the conversation of his brother officers, as he called them in after days sometimes, and learned as many military names as he could. In these studies, the excellent Mrs. O'Dowd was of great assistance to him. And on the day finally when they embarked on board the Lovely Rose, which was to carry them to their destination, he made his appearance in a braided frock coat and duck trousers, with a foraging cap ornamented with a smart gold band. Having his carriage with him and informing everybody on board confidentially that he was going to join the Duke of Wellington's army, folks mistook him for a great personage, a commissary general or a government courier at the very least. Personage. He suffered hugely on the voyage, during which the ladies were likewise prostrate. But Amelia was brought to life again as the packet made Ostend, by the sight of the transports conveying her regiment. Let's start that sentence over again. But Amelia was brought to life again as the packet made Ostend, by the sight of the transport conveying her regiment, which entered the harbour almost at the same time with the Lovely Rose. Joss went in a collapsed state to an inn, while Captain Dubbin escorted the ladies and then busied himself in freeing Josh's carriage and luggage from the ship and the custom house. For Mr. Joss was at present without a servant, Osborne's man and his own pampered menial having conspired together at Chatham and refused point blank to cross the water. This revolt, which came very suddenly and on the last day, so alarmed Mr. Sedley Jr. that he was on the point of giving up the expedition. But Captain Dobbin, who made himself immensely officious in the business, Joss said, rated him and laughed at him soundly. The mustachios were grown in advance, and Joss finally was persuaded to embark. In place of the well-bred and well-fed London domestics who could only speak English, Dobbin procured for Joss's party a swarthy little Belgian servant who could speak no language at all, but who, by his bustling behaviour and by invariably addressing Mr. Sedley as my lord, speedily acquired that gentleman's favour. Times are altered at Ostend now. Of the Britons who go thither, very few look like lords, or act like those members of our hereditary aristocracy. They seem for the most part shabby in attire, dingy of linen, lovers of billiards and brandy and cigars and greasy ordinaries. But it may be said as a rule that every Englishman in the Duke of Wellington's army paid his way. The remembrance of such a fact surely becomes a nation of shopkeepers. It was a blessing for a commerce-loving country to be overrun by such an army of customers and to have such creditable warriors to feed. And the country which they came to protect is not military. For a long period of history they have let other people fight there. When the present writer went to survey with eagle glance the field of Waterloo, we asked the conductor of the diligence, a portly, warlike-looking veteran, whether he had been at the battle. Pas si bête. Such an answer and sentiment as no Frenchman would own to, was his reply. But on the other hand, the postillion who drove us was a viscount, a son of some bankrupt imperial general who accepted a pennyworth of beer on the road. The moral is surely a good one. Well, okay, there's that. That's enough of that, I feel. Okay, so I am looking forward to finding out what else happens. I currently currently I'm kind of rooting for Rebecca. She's likable. Amelia isn't likable. To me, in the story, everybody likes her, but I don't get why she's so feeble and blah. So I'm kind of rooting for Rebecca. I hate George. I hate George Osborne. I want him to die. So probably he's gonna die, and then William Dobbin, he's gonna marry Amelia. That would be good. I like him. He should get to marry Amelia because that's what he wants. As for Rebecca, yeah, I want her to have her happy ending. Want things to turn out well for her. So the easiest way that would happen is if old Miss Crawley died and leaves Rawdon all of her money. And after all, yeah. So we'll see. If any of you feel like this is a complete waste of time, that have read the book and just think, no, finish the miniseries and be done with it and read something else, let me know, because this is going to take me weeks. Okay, I don't make a lot of progress in a day. I don't read every day, and when I read, I read like 3 chapters and then my head hurts. So if you feel like I should get out now, can you let me know? Thanks. Okay. I feel like this video is sufficiently long. I had no idea it was going to get this long. But there we are. Okay. Good night, everyone.